Hello everyone and welcome back to Connected Cultures. My name is Jen.
And I'm Marguerite. The warm weather has finally arrived in Boone, and with finals fast approaching, the spring semester is winding down to a close. That means it's time to wrap up season 7 of our show. We made some great memories and talked to some great people this year, so for our finale, we decided to take a bit of a walk down memory lane.
Let's start by taking it all the way back to September of 2023 for the start of season 6. Our first episode of the school year was all about Hispanic Heritage Month. We looked into the origins of the celebration and how it's celebrated around the world. We recorded our first edition of Women on the Street, and then we sat down with Christian and Joel of the Lambda Sigma Upsilon Latino Fraternity Incorporated.
The next episode was themed around Indigenous Peoples Day, including the history and the theme for 2023. We quizzed students about the celebration and welcomed Sierra and Venice from the Student American Indian Movement to answer a few questions.
Before winter break, we ended season 6 by discussing food and how meaningful it is to people's culture and background. During Women on the Street, students answered questions while trying to make PB&Js blindfolded. Tasha, Ellie, and Grace then tried baking a cake in a similar fashion.
In February, the crew returned for season 7, where we started talking about Black History Month and how it came to be. Nick and Lenny from Black Ad App faced off against Marguerite and Tasha in some themed trivia.
Then, most recently, we released our March episode, which highlighted Women's History Month and raised awareness on the topic of period poverty. We took to the student union to test the students' knowledge on the contributions women have made in our society.
Wow, it's been a great year for Connected Cultures. It's sad to see it come to a close, but don't worry, we still got a couple more segments before we wrap up. Starting off, we'll toss it to Tasha for her segment on Filipino culture. Let's go.
Boone, North Carolina, a picturesque town nestled in the Appalachian Mountains, home to App State University and a haven for outdoor enthusiasts. My mother has called my mountain town the Boonies, and I can't help but wonder, how does my mother know the commonly used American term? Where does the word originate from? Hello, I'm Tasha Ramos, co-producer of Connected Cultures and a real-life Filipino person. Now, did you really think that I was going to graduate and leave here without saying I'm Filipino, or just mention the Philippines in general? No, it's in my genetics to tell people that I'm Filipino. Viewers may be wondering, why did I bring up my Filipino mother, and what does she have to do with the Boonies? Join me on this journey as we go into the origins of the word Boonies and how it connects to Filipino culture, and just a little bit about Filipino history.
I haven't been to the Philippines, but I grew up with a lot of Filipinos.
Really?
Yes. My best friend that I grew up next door to was her mother was from the Philippines.
Before I start anything, I want to give a disclaimer. I am not a historian. I am not a scholar on Filipino history. So, although I did do a lot of research, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm lying for attention. That could be a possibility, but at the end of the day, all I wanted to do was teach people a little bit about the history of the Philippines through some sort of just like casual, almost gossip-like tone, even though I'm going to cover some hard, heavy subjects. Just know that I'm trying my best, okay? That being said, let's move on with this video and get into the origin of the word Boonies. The word boonies stems from the word boondocks. So when we hear the word boonies and boondocks, we think somewhere rural, middle of nowhere, grass, flowers, miles of nothing. Where's the target? When you think of that, you think of the word boonies and boondocks. But what does the word boonies and boondocks come from? It actually comes from the Philippines. So back then, during the Philippine-American War, a lot of American soldiers were in the Philippines and picked up a lot of words that the Filipinos were using. One word being bundok, which means mountains in Philippines. So over time, the word boondocks just became a word common slang in military personnel. But over time, as they had news coverage over things, military people would use the word boondocks and boonies, and it just became popular in mainstream media. Thus today, boonies and boondocks being a popular word used to describe anything rural. Next time you hear someone use the word boonies, boondocks, be like, actually. Okay, pre-colonial Philippines. I'm gonna be honest, I could not find a lot on the subject. All I could find were like really sketchy old articles and like some YouTube videos, and they were all kind of just saying the same thing, and I wish I could learn more, but unfortunately I think just because it was so long ago and a big part of Philippines history is being colonized by Spain and other countries we'll get into eventually, I feel like that unfortunately erased a lot of pre-colonial history in the Philippines, and it's just really sad to see. But from what I could find and what I gathered was the Philippines was a diverse archipelago consisting of various indigenous societies and cultures. That plays a big role in its history. Now, a lot of you might not even know what the Philippines looks like or where it's even located, so I'll put a picture somewhere. One thing I could find a common ground was Austronesian people being a big impact on pre-colonial Philippines. Who are the Austronesian people? Where did they come from? Who is she? I didn't know who she was either, so I had to do a quick Google, and based off what I could find is that Austronesian people actually originated from the island of Taiwan, and they were seafarers, so they were making their way all around the Pacific Ocean, and they made their way through the Philippines. Eventually, people started settling, which then leads to my next thing. The Philippines created societies called barangays. These barangays were small communities led by chiefs called datus. All of these different tribes were in their own societies and cultures, and they all just happened to live in these neighboring islands, and they traded with each other, but there was also conflict, just like any other societies being brought up into modern times. Pre-colonial Philippines is really cool, and I just feel like it's not talked about enough, and it's such a rich history that is often overshadowed by the colonization. Okay guys, now this is into the colonization / occupation era. So a lot of this, it is so much of Filipino history. I would need like an hour covering this entire thing. So this is super summarized. Mama, I researched, there's a lot. And if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my laptop because there's a lot of ground that we need to cover, okay? The first people that colonized the Philippines, guys, we all know it. Say it with me. Spain! Spain was my motherland's first colonizers. Based off of my research, what I could see, Spain colonized the Philippines from 1521 to about 1898. I'm not a math major, guys. That's probably a lot of years. Basically, this man, Magellan, whatever, he was trying to convert all the Filipinos to Catholicism. Over time, he's visiting these different islands, and he tries to get all of the chiefs to convert into Catholicism. All of the chiefs do agree to convert to Catholicism, except for one man, Lapu-Lapu. We love him. He is a Filipino hero, guys. And this man, what did he do? Well, we're gonna get into it. So one of the chiefs who agreed to convert to Catholicism was Bestie Poos with Magellan. Well, maybe not Bestie Poos, but he was friendly with Magellan. Magellan was like, hey, like, Lapu-Lapu doesn't want to convert to Catholicism, like, I don't know what to do. And then his bestie who converted was like, okay, maybe you just need to like go to his little village and tell him like face to face, maybe he would want to convert to Catholicism. So Magellan was like, okay, let me bring my crew. And they went to Lapu-Lapu's area, and then fight broke out. They were battling out, they were duking it out. There was blood, there was conflict. And guys, guess what happened? Lapu-Lapu ended up killing Magellan. So this man, dead. After that battle, the colonizers retreated to Cebu. Guys, the soldiers from the battle actually got invited to this little like feast that original guy, the one who was besties with Magellan when he was like, hey, just like talk to Lapu-Lapu. They went to this man again, and this man poisoned the soldiers that were at that battle. Oh my god. So not only is Magellan dead at this point, all of his men were also dead. That low-key scared off the new Spanish commander, Juan Sebastian Elcano, because he was like scared. He was like, oh my god, like these Filipinos like literally just killed my earlier commander and they just killed my crew. I'm going to flee back to Spain. Following that, Spaniards were still just going around the Philippines, converting people, getting the lay of the land. This is when the Philippines became the Philippines. It was named after King Philip II of Spain. Guys, this is now starting the era of colonization. Whew, deep breath. That was just the beginning of so many years of stuff. So I'm gonna look at my laptop. We're gonna like try to fly through this as much as we can, guys, okay? King Philip II sent Miguel Lopez de Legazpi to the Philippines after all that conflict. He traveled from Mexico in 1565 and formed the first European settlements in Cebu. By 1571, they established Manila as the capital. Oh, you thought Spain was just colonizing? Surprise! Great Britain came in. I literally, through this research, found out that Great Britain played a part in occupying the Philippines. Didn't know that. In 1762, the Brits declared war on the Spanish, which led up to the British invading Manila. So the occupation began in October 4th and then ended in the spring of 1764. So they weren't there for too long, but they were there for a minute, and something I should probably add. Spain is back in the picture. Filipinos revolted against the abuse of power in the next centuries by Spain. And right now, I want to mention some notable revolutionists. And I'm not going to talk too much about them, but you can research them on your own time. But I do remember my mom talking about these heroes. So one of them being Jose Rizal and Emilio Aguinaldo. Oh, so you thought that I was speaking about revolutionists, that they were on the ends of colonization, the Filipinos? No. You were incorrect. You thought wrong. Because America steps in now. Spanish rule ended after the American-Spanish War of 1898. America has landed. America is knocking at the door. They want to come in. They're not gonna knock at the door. I lied. They knocked the door down and now they're in the Philippines. After the American-Spanish War, the Philippines became American territory. The Philippine-American War erupted in 1899 to 1902. Guys, it's getting scary. We're in the 1900s now. Although Filipinos were knowledgeable of the land, they ended up losing that Philippine-American War. America saw this as a chance to extend its influence to Asia and establish its position as a global power. And basically what happened was that they felt the need to civilize and modernize Filipinos because they thought that Filipinos were primitive. Just all of the things that all these European colonizers thought of different cultures. They were like, they don't look like us, they don't have the same skin color as us, let's wipe them out. Let's assimilate them. So that's exactly what they did. And they implemented education policies to spread American influence, which was one of them being the Education Act of 1901. And that is why today a lot of Filipinos speak English. So when my parents immigrated to America, like they had no issue communicating with Americans because they grew up learning English. I also wanted to mention that during this time they were establishing westernized nursing schools, which play a big part in why I am here today. And why a lot of Filipino Americans are probably here today. A lot of Filipino women were being trained as nurses within the westernized criteria. So that allowed a lot of Filipino women to migrate from the Philippines to America. That's exactly what my mom did and is quite literally the reason why I'm sitting here today in a room in Boone, North Carolina. Japan steps into the picture. It is World War II. It is 1942. They snatched the Philippines out of America's hands. And they occupy for a minute from 1942 to 1945. So again, World War II era. And I'm not going to get too into it because I feel like it is more recent and a lot of people can kind of assume what was happening. A lot of bad things. It was messy. It was destructive. It was ugly. And it directly impacted my family. Like my Lolo was directly impacted by Imperial Japan. America steps back in after World War II. And they finally fulfilled their promise to the Filipinos. After they established them as Commonwealth status, they said that they would release the Philippines and let them become an independent country. Whew. Like, how long was that? That was a lot. I don't know what I'm cutting out. I don't know what I'm keeping in. Although it was very heavy and not fun subject that I covered, I think it's really important to talk about the colonization of the Philippines because I think you really understand why the culture is the way it is today. Like, my last name is literally Ramos. I have a Spanish last name. The Philippines is just a melting pot of all these different cultures coming in and out. Okay, now we're gonna get into Filipino food. Let's get the vibes going up because I think I brought them down by accident. We're gonna do a quick run through of Filipino food because I can talk about Filipino food all day. But one of the highlights we got is lumpia, most popular, and you can tell it's a spring roll. Its influence comes from Asia. And another country that we're going to mention is Spain. Guess what? Filipinos also have their own version of empanadas, which is really fun and awesome. So that's really cool. We also have arroz caldo, which is just a rice soup. If you speak Spanish, it sounds like what it is. And we also have this dish, well, it's a dessert called halo halo. And it's a dessert with shaved ice and condensed milk, and you add a bunch of other stuff, ice cream. A lot of other Southeast Asian countries have their own version of that. So it's just really interesting to see the mixture of cultures within Filipino food. And I'm missing so much more. And I just want to mention my favorite Filipino foods, sinigang, which is like this tamarind-based, it's kind of like a sour soup. And I love Filipino breakfast. Like, I can cry thinking about how much I love Filipino breakfast. I have cried because I missed Filipino food so much. But that's Filipino food. You should look into it. Also, shout out Jollibee. If you ever want to try Filipino food, Jollibee is a fast food restaurant and paving its way into mainstream media low-key. Jollibee, although I love Jollibee, it is not a good representation of real Filipino food. So just something to put out there, but Jollibee is so awesome. That is my section on Filipino food. I do want to get into Filipino people who are in mainstream media that you might not even know are part Filipino. A lot of these people are mixed Filipino people, but I think it's still fun. Okay, we're gonna start this run through starting now. Okay, Bruno Mars, he's my kuya. He's not my kuya actually, but Bruno Mars is half Filipino and a lot of people do not know that, which is really cool for me, and I can always tell people that he's literally Filipino. That's awesome. Olivia Rodrigo, half Filipino. People think she's Latina, but she is not. Her father is Filipino, hence her last name being Rodrigo, and I'm assuming the big confusion of why people think she's Latina. Vanessa Hudgens, people also think that she's Latina. She is not. She is half Filipino, which is really cool. Darren Criss from Glee, did you guys know he's half Filipino? It's really funny. He did not register as Filipino in my head, but his mother's Filipino, which is really cool. The artist Her, she is Filipino as well, half Filipino. She is an amazing artist, and I am so happy to call her an ate. She is my ate for real. And we also have Shay Mitchell, the girl who played Emily Fields. Yes, the girl who played Emily Fields in Pretty Little Liars. Someone who is not American, Enrique Iglesias. He is part Filipino as well. Go tell your friends, guys. And full Filipino people who are popular in mainstream media for the most part. Manny Pacquiao. I think we all know Manny Pacquiao. You guys might not know who Dante Basco is, but he's actually the voice of Prince Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender. So if you're like watching it with someone, just be like, yo, that's voiced by a Filipino man. Also, last but not least, Bretman Rock. And I think Bretman Rock is doing an amazing thing. I feel like he teaches people about Filipino culture in a way that's fun, and I hope to see more Filipino Americans pave their way in mainstream media. That is all I'm going to tell you about the famous Filipino people who exist today, and hopefully one day I'll be up there with them. Okay, so that's the end of my video, and I hope you guys learned a little bit about Filipino history, and hope you pulled some facts away with you that you can bring to people and they're gonna think you're so smart and just thank me. I'm Tasha Ramos, your co-producer of Connected Cultures, and you will never see me again because I am graduating.
Thanks, Tasha. Great to hear from you. Don't go anywhere. We've got one more segment after the break.
Let's go!
To a place where you can grow.
A place to be heard.
And take a closer look.
A place where you can crush it.
And push yourself.
A place to find your voice.
This place rocks. And rolls.
A place where you can get out.
A place you'll never forget.
So where is this place? Let me show you.
Welcome back to Connected Cultures. Izzy and Carlos really cooked on this next segment. No, literally. Let's take a look.
Hi, I'm Isabel Fleming, and I'm here today with Carlos Solanas, and we're here at Tienda Mexicana, and what are we here to get?
We're here to get ingredients for chiquilillas.
All right, let's go in.
Okay, so the most important ingredient while making chiquilillas is salsa verde, and today we're going to be using the brand La Costeña. This is actually the brand that my family uses, so when we saw it on the shelves, I was really excited about this.
We're ready to try making some chiquilillas.
Usually in Mexico, we make chiquilillas in the morning for breakfast food, but we're going to put a little American twist to it this time and have breakfast for dinner.
So let's get started. All right. So first we're going to pour a little bit of salsa verde in the bottom. And we're just using a pan. We're not even going to cook it. We're just using a pan so it's like easier to like stir it. Alright. So I'm just going to sprinkle a few in there for now. Then we're going to pour some more salsa verde on top. That was more than I was anticipating. We're just going to kind of try to coat them all evenly. So we'll be back when that's done. Alright, so we ended up making like twice the amount because Carlos is really hungry. So now we're just gonna let this soak for a couple minutes to get the tortilla chips softened up a little bit. And while we do that, we're gonna start making the eggs.
So this part's pretty straightforward. We're just making some fried eggs to put on top of the chiquilillas because, as I said, chiquilillas is a breakfast food. And now we're just gonna put the lid on it. We want them to be sunny side up.
All right, we're finally ready to dig in. And I almost forgot, I did also add the avocado to the plate. Very important to the beautifulness of it. Anyways, let's go ahead and try it.
Mmm. That's delicious.
So does it taste how you remembered?
Honestly, it's not far off.
I love to hear it. All right, well, I'm Isabel Fleming.
I'm Carlos Solanas.
And thanks so much for tuning in.
Thanks so much to Izzy and Carlos. I hope they save some for the rest of the crew.
Well, that was our final segment, but before we end the season, we want to take the time to give a quick shout out to the members of our Connected Cultures crew who are graduating this spring. Thank you for all of the hard work and love you put into this show. We really appreciate you all, and we know you're going to move on to great things.
As always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you soon for Season 8. Bye!